the outermost layer of connective tissue that surrounds the entire muscle, while the perimysium surrounds groups of 10 to 100 or more muscle fibers, separating them into bundles called fascicles. Both the epimysium and the perimysium are dense irregular connective tissue. The endomysium is a thin sheet of areolar connective tissue that surrounds each individual muscle fiber. Tendons are attached to the bones of the skeleton, and the contraction of skeletal muscle causes the bones at a joint to move. Muscle contraction. During muscle contraction, skeletal muscle shortens because the actin, thin filaments slide past the myosin, thick filaments. The movement of the actin filaments in relation to myosin filament is called the sliding filament theory of muscle contraction. Muscle contraction occurs because myosin heads attach to and walk along the thin filaments at both ends of sarcomere, progressively pulling the thin filaments towards the center of the sarcomere. The contraction cycle is a repeating sequence of events that causes the filament to slide, and it consists of 4 steps. ATP hydrolysis, attachment of myosin to actin to form cross bridges, power of stroke, detachment of myosin from actin. Muscle fibers are stimulated to contract by motor neurons whose axons are found in nerves. The axons of one motor neuron can stimulate from a few to several muscle fibers of a muscle because each axon has several branches. A branch of an axon ends in an axon terminal that lies in close proximity to a sarcolemma of a muscle fiber. A small gap, called a synaptic cleft, separates the axon terminal from the sarcolemma, forming the neuromuscular junction.
The feedback system is a cycle of events in which the status of a body condition is monitored, evaluated, changed, remonitored, reevaluated, and so on. Each monitored variable, such as a body temperature, blood pressure, or blood glucose level, is called a control condition. Any disruptions that change a control condition is called a stimulus. A feedback system has 3 basic parts: a receptor, a control sector, and an effector. A positive feedback occurs in nature when the product of a reaction leads to an increase in that reaction. If we look at a system in homeostasis, a positive feedback loop moves a system further away from the target of equilibrium. It does this by amplifying the effects of a product or even an occurs when something needs to happen quickly. An example of positive feedback is a fruit ripening. There is a surprising effect in a nature where a tree or bush will suddenly ripen out of a fruit or vegetables without any visible signal. This is our first example of a positive biological feedback loop. The second one is a childbirth. When labor begins, the baby's head is pushed downwards and results in increased pressure on the cervix. This stimulates receptor cells to send chemical signals to the brain, allowing the release.
I'm going to talk about osteoporosis and skin cancer. Risk factors. First, for osteoporosis, gender. Women are more likely to get osteoporosis when they start with menopause. Estrogen levels decrease, and bone density also decreases with it. Males only are at risk of osteoporosis when they have low testosterone levels, but it's rare. Family history. If in your parents, grandparents had osteoporosis, you are at risk for also getting osteoporosis. The age. The older you get, at higher risk you are at getting osteoporosis. Low BMI. If you had less than 19 body mass index, you are probably higher risk for getting osteoporosis. Obviously, it depends on your height and weight, but yeah, if you have low BMI according to your height and weight,